Hi ladies, car share. I haven't done those in a while. I wanted to come on here because it is a topic that came up so many times this week and I haven't had a time to actually do a video, and I really I'm burning to do it, especially because this happened to me and I feel like we need to talk about it. I've spoken to 3 of my clients this week alone who went for checkups at their gynecologist. They had to do a breast checkup as well, and they all had the same feedback, which is, well, I've done the test and actually they came back normal and this and that, but I don't feel normal. And I was like, okay. And the doctor kept on telling them that it's all in their head because nothing is going on with their bodies. And I hate that. And I was like, okay, it's not in your head, it's happening. You're feeling, and what you're feeling is truly happening, and we have to understand why. And we have to understand why by understanding our hormones, which is why you're talking to me. So I want to just break down this in a few parts. Number one, when you go to your doctor, brilliant to go for checkups once a year, please do. And you will do your ultrasound, you will do your smear test. Now in some countries they say, especially where the national insurance pays for that, they do it every 2 years in a higher risk population. If they've found, for example, the HPV virus or changes, they will do it every year, but otherwise it's every 2 years to 3 years. And I would suggest doing it every year, especially if you gone through a lot of stress, circumstances in your life have changed, whatever it is. If you have different sexual partners and you're not practicing protected sex, whatever it is. I mean, at our age, I hope that we are a little bit wiser, but the point is, whatever circumstance you're in, adapt that to the frequency of your test, and if you're going to do a smear test or not. It's perfectly fine, especially if you're actually paying for it. Now I know when you're not paying for it, well, directly, as in you're not paying cash for it, but you're paying through your insurance or through your social security, it's a bit of a battle with the system. I get it. I decided to not worry about the system and just pay cash because it makes my life a lot easier. When I want to go, I just go. But I know it's not affordable to everybody, and I know it's not always convenient, and we have to adapt to the circumstances. So you make it work for you. But when you go and check up, you do your ultrasound, you do your smear test. Hopefully everything is fine, and then you do your breast checks. Now I want to stop on breast checks for a moment. When you do your breast checks, if you are over 40, you're gonna start hearing that we have to do mammographies. Please do not do mammographies or mammograms. They call them 2 different things. Do not do it. I have spoken about this to Dr. Véronique de Saunier on my Green Life podcast. I have spoken to many alternative doctors. I have spoken to my colleagues in the naturopathic space, and we all agree that they are not necessary and that it's better not to do it. Why? When you go for a mammography, you're basically putting your breast in a machine that will squeeze and pressurize your breast tissue, which is already not great, especially if you have cancer cells and you're squishing them together. Then you're basically blasting your breast tissue with radiations that are 25 times hardcore than X-rays. To me, given that X-rays have been linked to cancer and we know what happened, with many practitioners who didn't cover up and shield while they were doing X-rays getting cancer, to me, it makes no sense to expose our breast tissue, which is actually quite sensitive, to that kind of radiation. Especially because once you do your mammograms, if anything comes up through it, if it's seen, what happens is that you have to do an ultrasound. Now, ultrasounds are safer, they're easier, they're cheaper, and I feel that we should do them to begin with. If you can also have a practitioner that does thermography, do thermography, which measures the temperature changes in different parts of the body. For example, if you're doing a scan of thermography on your breast, you will see if there is red spots, or yellow spots, or blue. Blue means no activity, not much activity. Yellow is normal, or green is normal, and then the red means there is a lot of activity. we know that cancer cells are much more proliferant and they're much more active than normal cells. So that could indicate something is going on. It could be inflammation, but it could be that something is going on. And if you've done the tomography first, then you do the ultrasound. In any case, on the ultrasound visit, you will see lumps, and you will see if there are any, and you will be able to already see if the lumps look watery, so fluid filled, or if these cysts are actually solid. When the cyst looks solid, your practitioner, your doctor, will suggest doing a biopsy. In this case, I also have a caveat. I would say don't let them puncture your skin to do a biopsy. If you're puncturing a cell and it's a cancer cell, you are puncturing a cancer cell. Like you're bringing cell material that is not normal all over the interstitial fluid into your body. So it expands. I would say have a micro operation where they can, if you have to do a biopsy, where they open the breast and they take off these cysts or tumors and they examine them once they're out. So they don't just take the material, they actually take the bit and they test it. To me, that's a safer option than doing a biopsy, to me and my colleagues in the naturopathic space. Now, I know I'm telling you things that are so against the system that you're going to be like, what the hell? I get it. And this is the conundrum for us practitioners who are naturopathic doctors, because we are trying to go back to logic, safety, and do no harm. And sometimes, because in the name of practicality and drugs and pharmaceuticals and money, these procedures that are meant to be done safely are bypassed so that it's quick, right? It's a quick cash making machine. I don't agree with that. I want to make sure that people are safe. I am telling you what I would do, right? If I would do it, I am telling you yes. If I wouldn't do it, I'm telling you caution. Now, everybody is responsible for choosing for their body. I have friends who are very much into natural living, and they went for a mammography, and they did a biopsy, and they did also prevent the surgery to remove body parts with the fear of getting cancer, because that's what they were told by their practitioners. I've always spoken with love and education to them about the options, but ultimately everybody has to make that option. And as long as they're fine with it, I'm fine with it. And what I do after is that I support in the journey of recovery, because ultimately the body adjusts, and it's a beautiful thing because we can adjust to anything that we've done and thrive. So it's not like you have a death sentence if you are choosing something that is a little bit more invasive, okay? But I would say, if you can, avoid the assault on the body, right? Avoid the injury on the body. Avoid attacking and being quite radical with the body, because the body is a beautiful machine that works and it needs to just be soothing. So those are the things. The other thing when you go and talk to a doctor is you want to be educated. So please follow my videos, follow other practitioners that talk about this. Understand your hormones. Also, when you go and do any checkups that has got to do with hormones, whether it's blood work or your gynecological test, please know exactly where you are in your cycle. That makes a massive difference, especially when you're waiting for results, because sometimes I have clients that go and do thyroid checkups, that do hormonal checkups, so they check their cortisol, they check estradiol, the progesterone, and there is a range for each phase of the cycle, and they don't know where in the cycle they were. So we can actually see when and what was happening, if it's normal or if it's not if it's not normal, if it's too high, it's too low, we cannot tell. And that is such a disservice, because when I ask them, did your doctor not ask you where you were in your cycle, the answer is always no, they didn't, because they expect you to know it, I guess. But also as a practitioner, you need to ask these questions and not take it for granted that your patients actually track their cycle, because most women don't. And this is where I try to also emphasize that we need to know our cycle. Get an app, get on the app like Cycle, and track your cycle. Understand day 1, your first day of bleeding, day 1 to 28, 32, however long your cycle or short your cycle is. Understand that. Also, if you understand the length of your cycle, when it starts and when it ends, when you track it, you can also start seeing beautiful things happening, not only because you are connecting to nature and you can see what's happening etherically, but also you'll be able to know when you're ovulating so that you can actually track ovulation. You will be able to know when you are feeling that you need some foods versus others, and sometimes you don't know what it is, but I educate people about this. Your food changes literally every week. Every time you get into a new cycle, you are changing the way that you eat and the way that you don't eat, the way you fast. So we need to know these things. We can't just have a guesswork, because this is when people are like, oh, last week I was feeling so light and I was feeling so good and now I'm just all bloated. Well, yeah, that will happen. And if you go to your doctor and talk about this, the truth is they have no freaking clue. And you can't expect them to, because they were not educated. It is not their fault. A, this is new information coming to the surface, really. But also, B, it's that some doctors are just not interested in learning further once they get their degree, because they are like, I spent 6 years, 7 years, 8 years working on this, I'm done. And all I know must be it. And it's really, really hard. Yes, they're required to do some courses, but again, I don't know what they have access to. And most courses for doctors are organized by the pharmaceutical companies, they're sponsored by them. So the information would be about pushing medicine, not about actually talking about health. And yes, there is place for drugs into our bodies, into our life. Of course, I've evolved even in my understanding and acceptance of HRT. At the beginning, I was like, HRT, no. But if I know the body of the client, or my body, if it were, doesn't work to the optimal level, and estrogen levels, for example, are dropping, and I have the risk of a person starting to have issues with dementia, with memory, going towards Alzheimer's, which is actually one of the things that affects women most, then yeah, I'm like, we can definitely do HRT, especially now that we have bioidentical hormones that can be completely safe and helpful. When women are like, I'm totally like itchy and dry and it's painful down there, well, progesterone can help. There are many, many things that we can do, and I think it's smart to know the options, try natural approaches. There are many, many herbs that are beautiful in doing this, but there is also sometimes the need to do it medically, with medication, okay, pharmaceutically. It depends on the person, it depends on the circumstance, it depends on how further along we are with anything. So being open-minded, being educated, when you go to your doctor with all this information and you talk to them, you talk about your cycle, showing that you know where you're at and what's going on, they sometimes can be receptive and actually have an educated conversation with you. Sometimes they completely dismissive, because actually you're showing them they don't know. And this is exactly what happened to me. I gave this gynecologist a chance. I went there twice and I will never go to her again, because literally she avoided the conversation. She didn't want to engage in it because she did not know what the hell she was talking about when it came to hormones. And I made her feel stupid, and it wasn't my intention. I was trying to have a conversation. I'm like, do you think this could be happening? No idea. So she was like, yes, maybe you're in perimenopause. I'm 44. I'm the same. I'm like, okay, well, what do we want to test something? No Dutch test idea, like nothing. So of course it's frustrating, but don't let the doctor make you feel stupid. Don't let them gaslight you, and accept that some people that don't know what they're talking about will be triggered, because the ego will come up and say, no, you're a doctor, you know what you're talking about, instead of being humble. You know how many things I don't know, even in the health space? Sometimes I read a document, a research, I listen to a podcast to another doctor, and I'm like, wow, that is mind-blowing. I spoke to Doc Pam Popper, who quite honestly blew my mind, because I have always learned in nutrition and in medicine that, you know, vitamin D supplements, like, we should take them. They're good for us, like, necessary, and we don't want to have deficiencies. And she's like, hey, vitamin D is a hormone. How do you think you can just replace it with a vitamin, with a supplement, and make it applicable to your body, make it even active and able to be metabolized? And I never thought about this, and I was like, you know what? I stand corrected in this, and I'm happy to learn more about it, because that's how we evolve as practitioners. And the thing that we swear, that we have oath, when we take an oath, not one, we take 5 oaths, but the most important one is do not harm, do no harm, do no harm, do no harm. Then in naturopathy, we also have, use your food as medicine and medicine as your food. Like the Hippocratic, I don't know, Hippocrates knew exactly what he was talking about. When we take that oath, it's for a reason. It's to show that actually we really care. It's not about money. It's not about a title. It's not about these things. It's about actually really being aware and helpful to our patients and clients. Okay, so important. And so I suggest that you do this. And in my journey, as I study now and I write papers for my exams, like the stuff I'm learning, it's beyond me. I know that when I qualify fully, I still will have to learn for the rest of my life. But I love that. That's why I'm always studying. And I just people are always like, oh my God, you're always studying. First of all, I want my brain to always be stimulated. But yeah, I'm studying because I know that things are changing, and I want to know. And I don't want to just stop at, I've seen it before, let's just give this drug. No, that's not how I operate. Plus, to be fair, I cannot actually prescribe medication because I'm a naturopathic practitioner, not a MD, nor do I want to, because I want to work with MDs that can prescribe, but I also want to support naturally, because ultimately you can and should do both. So guys, please, if you want to educate yourself more, talk to me, come and speak to me, learn about the body. I am going to do videos on YouTube from now on. We're starting soon with really extending the offering of education and really linking different subjects. Learn about your liver. I'm going to talk about the liver soon. Just learn about your health, because you are responsible for it, and nobody else can be for you. Nobody else, not even a person in a white coat who studied for 6 to 8 years. You are responsible for your health. Use doctors, use us as information givers, as sounding boards, but do your research. Be a logical, questioning mind. It's completely fine. You're not disrespecting anybody. Please do it. Please allow yourself to be in charge of your health. Have a great weekend, and see you soon. Bye.